Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at my build of the week, and this is a series whereby I look at a category and assess the different kinds of teams you can build, the links you can focus on, and what the category maybe needs to improve. So we're going to be looking at the Androids category, and now the Androids category is a pretty fun category. It's kind of divided into three distinct subsections. You have the Android Cell Saga based units, like your Android 17s and 18s, your cells. Not that they're linked together very well, but from that distinct period, your Android 16s. Then you have more your GT orientated characters. You have your Super 17s, your Hellfighter 17s, and then you have basically the third section, which is like your Android 21s, your Android 13s. Now there's a couple leads for this category. Android 17, the physical one, is a lead. The physical LR 16, 17, and 18 is also a lead of 150%. Android 21, the strength one, is a lead. Then the tech Android Super 17 is also a lead. There's plenty of leads here. There's also some pseudo leads in the form of the int LR Cell, who leads the Android Cell Saga, so that covers a lot of the androids. And also you get the AGL Cell, who covers artificial life forms, which also covers a lot of the androids. So there's a lot of lead options, but not a lot of great lead options. I think AGL Cell is probably the best lead option in terms of the category, and possibly, if you can wangle it enough, you can do the tech LR Android, or sorry, the tech 17 and 18 future. Now, in terms of build, the Android Cell Saga is probably my favorite one at this current point in time. I think it's got all the tools you need to make a really fun and exciting team. You have a great free-to-play support in the form of the LR Android 17 and 18. You have fantastic pseudo tank in the form of Super Strike Android 16. You've got a super powerful pairing in the form of the LR cells, and you also have a very, very powerful floater or standard main rotation unit in the form of the future Android 17 and 18. So I really like that team. Personally, I think it's great. You can kind of invert it a little bit as well, as you see me doing here, by slotting in Android 17 and 18 as the lead and running kind of a Future Saga cross Worldwide Chaos team. Now, it's important to note that when you run Android 17 and 18 as a lead, you are probably going to deny your ability to use standard Android 18s and standard Android 17s, as neither of those units exist under the Worldwide Chaos or the Future Saga leads. So that's what I mean by you can use some of these pseudo leads, but you'll find that they will tend to kind of cancel out some of these other like units that you might want to use. You then have the kind of GT Super 17 build, where you can use Hellfighter 17s, you can use Super 17s, you can use Android 21s and Android 13s, Android 14 and 15 free to play. And this team these units have a bit of a different link set. They have links like Big Bad Bosses between them and Android Assault. They have Red Ribbon Army. They tend to have Shocking Speed. So these units tend to have a little bit of a different link set. And that's why you can't really link them with Android 17s and 18s who have Twin Terrors or Infinite Energy, or you can't really link them with Cell units who have Gentleman and Attack of the Clones, and obviously the Ultimate Life Form. So there's a lot of different builds, and this doesn't cover everything. There's some great units like Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 who I don't have. We'll be going through the list of units I don't have that are crucial to the category, but there's plenty of fantastic units that can build into teams. The Androids team is quite flexible. You got a lot of options. You don't need to cut yourself any specific way. You can easily combine a lot of these teams, especially if you have an Android's lead. So you can run Super 17 alongside Hellfighter 17, stick 2 cells on the other rotation. You can float Android 16, 17, and 18s. You can do a lot with this category. In terms of the units I do not have, but I think really help out the category and help to flesh it out. There's a couple very notable ones. To start off with, it's very clearly Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Gamma 1 being probably the most imperative. So one thing the category does lack is slot 1 tanks. The best slot 1 tank by far for the category is Gamma 1. And then you have like some 16s that can be decent tanks. You then also have this Android 16 and 18 who can be an okay tank if they get their guard. But a lot of the Android units actually tank via mechanics. Absorbing key blasts, nullification of key blasts, regeneration, health regeneration for cell teams, evasion. So the big thing is if you don't have Gamma 1, you do struggle a little bit for a slot 1 tank, and you kind of have like these pseudo slot 1 tanks. Android 16 and 18, you're relying on their chance to guard. The Androids or Dr. Jiro and Android 19, you're relying on their key absorption, which is great in some fights, but can get you stuck in others. And in general, there are those kind of mechanics that you do need to be aware of. They do kind of lack a pseudo slot 1 unit, which I think does affect them a little bit. The best kind of free-to-play one that you can get is Android 16, the Super Int one. On our Android Cell Saga team, he's actually very reliable, and he'll tank incredibly well. If his guard procs, he's basically immortal, which is very good. The other good free-to-play options that you have are the LR 17 and 18, a fantastic support for the category who have very good defense after Super, and can do some big damage to Superclass enemies. So that's two great free-to-play options. There are a little bit more left field ones. I think the Android 18 Strength is a pretty decent option. The two future units are great in long-form events. The Hachan and Android 17 is a decent unit, actually. They can tank and stun, so they're not too bad for SBR as well. So that's it when it comes to like the major kind of units. I would say 14 and 15 are also good, although they kind of need an easy A for the Android 13 to make themselves really good once again. And we still need some very good Fusion Android 13s on the list. I think we could do with an updated Super 17. I think obviously there's not the easy A for Incel on global right now, but that would help as well. And I think we could do with a good first form cell, like just a permanent first form cell, or an easy A for the Prime Battle one. My favorite team probably to run out of all of these is the Android Cell Saga team. I do just find it to be the most fun, and the one that's the most flexible, especially if you have Dr. Jiro and 19, especially if you have 16 and 18. You have some pretty strong options to create a very powerful, very reliable team. Now, in terms of links, so when you talk about links, you have to kind of break it up a little bit into different categories. So looking at the 17 and 18 side, there are some really common links. Android Assault, Infinite Energy, Twin Terrors. A lot of these are incredibly strong, very solid links that generally are consistent. Android Assault probably being the most consistent link across all of the categories. I think only cell units are the ones that predominantly don't have Android Assault. Now, cell units are a little bit different. Cell units do not have Twin Terrors, they do not have Infinite Energy, obviously, and cell units generally have Gentleman, the Ultimate Life Form if they're the perfect cell, Attack of the Clones if they're basically any other variant of cell, and Big Bad Bosses. And then when you look at like units, for example, like Android 13, the Gamma units, they tend to have Android Assault, Red Ribbon Army. So, yeah, there's quite a few different link paths. When you're looking at pairings or ways you can link up the team, generally speaking, the Android's category's got some great supports. So you don't need to worry about floating units so much. It's your major pairings that are going to be where you need to focus. Generally speaking, cells link well with cells. 17s and 18s link well with each other. And all the rest, the Super 17s, the 13s, and the Android 21s, tend to link pretty well with each other, as they have links like Big Bad Bosses, Android Assault, Red Ribbon Army, Fierce Battle, etc. So they tend to link relatively well together. But there is that kind of feeling of there being distinct partnerships within the category, and then maybe Android Assault being like your generic go-to category. But it is definitely a team that can have some issues. You can't just link a Android 17 with a Perfect Cell and call it a day. It's not like Pure Saiyans or Hybrid Saiyans where they all have like 3 generic links that they all share. Your team can struggle a little bit if you don't tend to build it out correctly from the back end. But beyond that, their links are actually quite good. Android Assault's a very powerful link. Red Ribbon Army's a very powerful link. Ultimate Lifeform, Gentleman, all their specific links are actually quite strong. Lots of defense, lots of damage reduction, lots of damage, just lots of good links in general. In terms of like overall, I think we need some new Hellfighter 17s. I think that'll help out the category a lot. They need to be added onto Android, not Artificial Lifeform. I think we also need a new lower form Super 17. But yeah, I think overall, category's fun. Let me know what you think, and bye.